Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Hello everyone, and welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast, episode 60. It's a special, very special episode. We've come up to the Himalayan mountains of Scotland, and we're joined by a very, very special mystic yogi by the name of Adhoksaja Krishna Prabhu. Hello.
Hare Krishna.
How are you?
I'm not as bad as I look.
So, actually we're not in Himalayas, we are in Scotland, and we've come up to this beautiful corner of the earth. They call it Karuna Bhavan. What's Karuna?
Karuna's the corner. Karuna Bhavan. Karuna, yeah. We had a deity, Shalagram here, initially called Karuna Sindhu. Oh. So Balabhadra Prabhu at that time thought, let's call the whole area Karuna Bhavan. Karuna Sindhu is the ocean of mercy, and Karuna Bhavan is the residence of mercy.
Sounds cool. Mm. Very, very peaceful place compared to Cardiff Bay as well.
Yeah.
Got birds tweeting and flowers blooming.
And monks growing old and eventually flopping over onto the side.
Yeah. But you've been practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time, right?
Yeah. Still practicing.
What was your what year did you join?
End of 82.
Wow.
As an experiment, I was 19 and I was a punk. I went from a punk to a monk.
Nice.
And was lucky because I could have ended up a skunk. And I thought I'll try this for a year, and if I get some amazing experiences, I'll keep doing it the rest of my life. And if I don't, well, at least I know for certain now there's nothing else after this, so fine, I can go ahead and be a complete hedonist without having to worry about the consequences.
Pretty cool. Did you have you had a paperclip in your ear? That kind of punk, like a Sex Pistols kind of?
Yeah, kind of like a grotty, smelly character. Not a nice chap to be around, really. I'm confused really about where I was, so I'm trying to be what I think people will relate to me as, and I'm not really sure what I am, so I'm just hiding behind this punk rock thing, trying to hopefully that'll get me by, you know.
Yeah, interesting. Were you always interested in like spiritual kind of topics?
Well, if you could call it spiritual, I saw my first ghost when I was about 2.5 years old, and it was a shadow coming up the hallway in the bungalow we lived in, Digmore and Skelmersdale, but nobody was behind the shadow. The shadow just kept coming up the wall, and there was nobody behind it, so we thought there must be somebody in the end room. So being a bungalow, we went out to the end room to look through the window, which was my mum's bedroom, and there was nobody in there. So later on I realised, probably it wasn't until I met the devotees actually I started realising that I'd been meeting ghosts on occasion, and so that was the only really kind of spiritual thing, supernatural thing that happened in my life.
pretty far out.
Yeah.
You said you were 2 years old when you saw that?
Yeah.
You have 2-year-old memories? Or like?
Yeah, I can go right back to when I was practically probably the earliest is when a piece of coal flew out the fire and went into my eyelid. Still got the scar from that. And I must have been about, do you know the earliest thing I can remember is I looked at my arms. I was in bed, and it was like a rusty, cheap bed with these springs on it. That was like the mattress was on it. I was looking at it. There was wallpaper with pink roses, and it was peeling. And I was thinking, I'm back again. I'm going to have to go through the whole thing again, and it's not even like a very opulent situation. It's like a crap bed and crappy wallpaper. I'm in a dump in Liverpool. Oh God, I've blown it. I'm going to go through the whole thing again. Remember, and it was like a 40-year-old guy thinking about these things in a tiny little 1-year-old body. Was
it like? That's pretty far out. More like a feeling, or you could think in English?
I was thinking really clearly, yeah. I was really, and I didn't know how to really speak, but somehow or other I stringed together this whole paragraph of thought, kind of doing a resume of where I was now, and I was very, really miffed that I'd come back, that I was here, and I was going to have to start the whole thing all over again.
That's pretty. It reminds me of the Bhagavatam. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it talks about how the living entity is in the womb, and he's praying to Krishna like, look, I promise, as soon as I get out, I'm going to be a good boy. And then as soon as he pops out, material energy covers him.
Yeah.
And he's back to square one. But you had real cognizant thoughts at a very young age.
Yeah, and probably the only other spiritual thing that was going on was deja vu. So I would recognize patterns, and it's funny, my dreams are probably more vivid in the past than the actual things that took place. I would.
Yeah.
So I wasn't fully convinced that when I woke up that was any more real than what was going on when I was sleeping. You know.
Yeah. Interesting. Like, because I had similar. I had these really vivid dreams, thoughts, kind of memories of being in, like, it was like a room, a place with bunk beds. I think I told you in London before. Like, I was like, what is this? Like, from childhood, I had these like flashback, deja vu, memory dreams, which weren't even dreams. They're just like imprinted in my. Anyway, when I first moved in the ashram, I think we were just like painting this temple. We were doing some painting work, service. And I had like this, I just like smelt the air, and it like flashed back to those memory dreams.
Wow.
And I was like, this is that. Like this devotional service, Krishna conscious stuff is that memory.
Wow.
And I thought it was linked to the bunk beds that you've got here somehow. Like I had like this intrinsic thing, like that's Scotland. I don't know how that works. From a child's age, I could do a Scottish accent quite good. Like I never even went to Scotland, and I had the ability to do a Scottish accent.
Yeah,
it was not too bad. But do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
maybe I was here.
Yeah.
When I came here, I didn't feel necessarily that I have been here, but maybe I have.
Yeah, it was the same when I went to India. The smell, because in India you can always smell things burning, burning wood. When I was a kid, where I was from in Liverpool, you could sometimes smell the burning wood, and it reminded me that this was home. You know, that I felt like I was at home. And then when I went to India, that same smell was there, and I really feel like I'm at home when I'm in Vrindavan and Mayapur. You know,
it's pretty far out. Smells and memories are linked. There's something to do with that, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah, really cool.
It's interesting because when you have a dream, dreams never have smells, because smell is the earth element, and dream is just subtle. So you never have smells in a dream, but you will have smells from past life, past life experiences.
So smells are very, very gross.
It's the gross
form of matter.
Yeah.
Or sense input.
Sensory perception. Yeah.
Smell.
Yeah.
So interesting how the gross things trigger memory. I don't know.
Yeah, because dogs are sniffing about all the time. Smelling is like a big thing for animals, and then the most subtle one, of course, is hearing, and maybe also that can trigger off. You hear something, you hear the mantra, you see the Harinam, and it triggers off that there's some unfinished business here. I was doing something connected with this in a past life, and here it comes back again. Okay, I need to finish off from where I left.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people have that experience in Krishna conscious type things. It's like this sense of familiarity, or the sense of picking up where. It's like you just got to.
Yeah.
And definitely, when you first move in the ashram, it's like, for me, it felt like I don't know if you ever burnt like cigarette rolling paper, and it just goes, or paper in general, it just goes.
Yeah.
I felt like when I first went in the ashram, it was like this like material layer just went, like it just burnt off, and I was like, oh, okay. Now the real work begins.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Like, you had very cognizant thoughts. Were you like a deep thinker, or like an analyzer of reality throughout school and that kind of?
I was a bit paranoid as a kid. I saw everybody learning, and they were out there at their desks, and I was looking around, and I was thinking, there's something really strange about this whole system. And it wasn't until I met the devotees, because I was thinking, well, I'm not going to say anything because everyone else seems to be okay with it. So that probably means I'm weird. So I'll just go along with everything. And then when I met the devotees, it was the first time I could see, no, actually, we're okay. And they are the ones that are weird, because then I had other people who were relating to me on the same level.
Very clear thought process for someone in that age, because a lot of people are in autopilot.
Yeah.
Like, kind of modern youth speak, they talk about how people are NPCs. You heard of NPC? Like in a video game, you have like a non-playable character.
Oh.
So it's like a character that's just in the game as like a background character.
Oh.
So like on the internet, people call these people that aren't really thinking about reality, they're NPCs. They're just...
Yeah, well, funnily enough, probably one of the most vivid memories I have is a dream. And I just got into Krishna consciousness, and so my relatives and family were saying that they weren't so keen on it, and it seemed a bit strange, a bit drastic. And I had this dream, and there was a big ship, and all my relatives were on the ship. Everybody on the ship was in black and white, and I was on this side, and I was in colour, and everything on this side of the fence was in colour, and there was a gangway, and they were saying, "You need to be with us, you belong with us." And I was looking at the ship, and the ship looked like it was sinking, and I was thinking, I feel bad that I'm going to leave them on the sinking ship, but I don't feel safe on that ship. I feel safe on this side, and if that means I have to break my connection with you, then I'm afraid that's what I'm going to have to do.
Interesting. Like, I guess I could go back on. Like, I also had dreams when I first came to the ashram. That was a weird one. First night I stayed in the ashram was like, I was in like this conference, like a big kind of press conference, and it was like I looked around, everyone was wearing like these dark robes with like almost like swastika Nazi kind of thing. I was looking around, and there's like a slideshow of like dark stuff, and I was like, no, I shouldn't be here. So I like walked up and left, and I was in like a courthouse, and there was this really like nasty character with like a big list, and they said he's done this wrong. He's going through all of the bad things I've done, and then there was two devotees, and they were like my lawyers. And I'm like, no, we've got him now. He's coming with us.
Yeah.
And they kind of got me off. They took me out of this. It was just like, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
Dreams are...
Yeah.
There's something significant about them.
Yeah. I think sometimes we're being told things, and I was into Carlos Castaneda for a little while, the Yakai Indian, and how he was contacting the deity of the drug, the Pauti Cacti, and it was telling him things, and I was having the same thing with magic mushrooms, and they were conveying to me in like kind of dreams and trips that you have to stop doing this intoxication, and you have to take Srila Prabhupada. He's a genuine guru, and you have to follow the path. It'll be difficult, but if you don't, it'll be more difficult. And so I think sometimes with intoxication, people take them, and intoxication is maybe a sign saying, London 400 miles. So you come back to the guy 5 years later, he's still by the sign, and you say, but didn't it say London 400 miles? Oh yeah, but I'm just happy being by the sign. So yeah, if the drugs can open you up, but they're meant to move you away from where you are to a different destination, and at that destination there won't be any intoxication or any other things. You see, if you just stay there, then you've not really assimilated what they're trying to tell you, and show you.
Yeah, it's a really nice point actually. So you said the mushroom was telling you about Prabhupada. What about Prabhupada? Like, what about Prabhupada for you?
Yeah, well, Srila Prabhupada, as soon as I heard the story, this old man had come with no money, and he'd had 2 heart attacks. Immediately I felt like I had to reciprocate that he'd done that. And this was like, I was in a squat at the time, and my friend, we were both taking strong drugs together, and he told me this, and it just hit me like, I have to reciprocate. I have to try, and maybe the best way to do that would be to pass out his books to other people. So this was just like a gut feeling immediately, and that kind of propelled me then into Krishna consciousness. And then I had a dream. I had a beautiful, beautiful dream about Srila Prabhupada, and he was on a little motorbike, like a kind of Lamborghini thing, and he was going along, and there was a camera crew, and they had microphones, and then Prabhupada says, in today's society, even the old people are like children. And then they were all photographing him, and then he drove off. And then that day I was on Sankirtan in Glasgow, and it was like a Prabhupada day. It was like the lid had been taken off the top of the sky. Srila Prabhupada was resting his elbows on the backs of the buildings, and he was watching me. And I just felt like, every time I'm looking around to see, is Prabhupada actually there? But I just felt like he was watching me. And so these devotees that say, oh, I'm so sorry I never met Srila Prabhupada, and I never got initiation from him. I never felt like that. I always felt like Prabhupada knew I was there. He was aware that I was trying to serve him, and he was appreciating and reciprocating, you know.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So you kind of left the punk life behind,
Yeah,
head first into a monk life,
Yeah.
distributing these books.
yeah, yeah.
So what about book distribution? You know, like what's
Oh, well, I have to make a confession now then. So you may need to get your tissues out when I make this confession. That you may, because you think, oh, he's been doing Sankirtan all his life, he must be like really gung-ho. But when I joined it, I had no plans to stand there on the street chasing people around with books in Swahili, trying to get them to change their lifestyle. I was quite happy to let them go down the ditch to the lower planets, as long as I was getting yoga every day and somewhere to do painting. So they said, yeah, you can just be an artist for Krishna, that's not a problem. And then we had an emergency, a financial emergency. Everybody had to drop. I was halfway through the Bhakti program. Everyone needs to go out and just collect. So I says, okay, I'll do it. And then after the marathon, I went back. Then they were saying, well, you know, Bhakti Tony, you're quite a good collector. Why don't you just do this for a couple of years? And after you've done it for a couple of years, you'll be able to go anywhere you like in ISKCON, and you'll be fine, you'll be accepted. And I thought, okay then, 2 years and that's it. But the financial crisis developed into another one and another one.
yeah.
I know 40 years later, now we need 68,000 for phase 2 of having cows. And so we have to go out and try and... So I was out today asking people for help, and some people did, so that was also nice. So maybe Krishna sometimes breaks it to us gently, because we're not consciously going to want to do this. We just do it day by day, you know. So probably that's the best way to do it, day by day.
Yeah, you kind of get tricked a little bit, isn't it? Like, yeah. So you obviously give out the books, but you also like to read Prabhupada's books too.
Yeah, if you really value what Prabhupada's given, then you'll want to assimilate what he's saying. And that is where it gets difficult, actually, because Srila Prabhupada is saying a lot in the books, and how much we're picking up. And so I found it very helpful. When I first joined, I was quite fanatical that you just read Prabhupada's books and anything else is Maya. And then there was one devotee giving a class of sannyasi, and he was referring to men are from Mars, women are from Venus, and this can be helpful if you get married. And it made sense. And so, you know, I'd been brahmachari for maybe 25 years, and suddenly I was with this person from Venus, a different species, and that it didn't seem to make sense, the way they were, functioning. It wasn't how a brahmachari behaved. So this book really helped me to understand how they are and how I need to be to help them and be a good partner for them. So then that opened up some other doors. I thought, well, Prabhupada's saying we should become good husbands. Every man should stay brahmachari. Every woman should get married. So how do you stay married and stay brahmachari at the same time? So it helped me to understand how to do that. And then 7 Habits, Highly Effective People, a book called Triggers by David Rico, which I'd heard some devotees, Pritu's wife Ramburu, and a few others were talking about. And so that fascinated me. Then a book called Lost Connections, why people get so much depression now, because they're disconnected from nature, from meaningful relationships, from meaningful work. So all the gaps are starting to get filled in now that I can understand this is what Prabhupada's saying. I understand where I'm at, and these are strategies to help me achieve fulfilling what Prabhupada wants, how he wants us to change. He wants us to become pure devotees. Non-violent communication was another one which really helps. How to, instead of being confrontational with a person, how to try and connect with the person's needs and his feelings, and trying to address that rather than this kind of a superficial level where he attacks you, so you attack him back, and then nobody gets their needs fulfilled.
Amazing. So you're using books that aren't pure Krishna conscious books.
Yeah. I heard Krishna Goswami, he described it as some people will say that Prabhupada never told us to do that. And he said, yeah, but by doing this, it helps me to do what Prabhupada did tell us to do. So this is my way of implementing what Prabhupada has told us to do.
It's really being intelligent, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Because it's kind of, I guess when you're new and fanatical, it's easy for you to just like become a brain, like mindless. Okay, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah.
Because just keep it in this box, which is good at first, definitely, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like it protects you from, because you could be the other way and just be too much into the
Yeah.
kind of everything else but Prabhupada's books.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I guess it's good to go in hard and then soften off.
Yeah. Yeah. In the beginning, we're a little bit immature, and then later on, we soften. And as we become softer, we can be more accommodating. And that really helps them, because you become more interested in relationships. It's not a question anymore of who's right and who's wrong. I'm going to prove you right because I know 50,000 slokas, and then when you're defeated, you'll surrender to me. But it never actually works like that, because the false ego gets involved, it gets confrontational, and people don't want to admit. Whereas if you develop a nice relationship with a person and they say something which isn't quite right, then later on they'll say, oh, by the way, did you have a different take on that? And then they'll be willing to listen rather than you trying to ram it down their throat.
Yeah, amazing. It's something that me and Gopal have talked about on a couple of podcasts, this principle of yukta vairagya. Yukta. So like you're using something that might not seem purely spiritual to help help you renounce, kind of, or...
Yeah. Yeah, we may have an idea, a preconceived idea of how quickly we're going to make advancement, and we don't seem to be making advancement at the speed that we would have liked to. So then we try to circumvent the shortfall with some kind of artificial, and it doesn't really work. And then sooner or later you have to just come back to the original point, square one, and you have to look at it again and then reapply it. I mean, you can be chanting for 40 years and then suddenly realize one day that you've not really been doing it properly. And it's just because of the attitude. The attitude has been wrong, and you just have to change the attitude.
How do you like own your shortcomings? Like, how do you actually own it? Because the natural or the unnatural, the conditioned way of dealing with it is to either pretend that it's not, I got no problems, and mask it somehow, or like, how do you actually own it? Like, how do you...
Well, it's funny if you look in the mirror, like I'm looking at my picture when it comes up there, and I'm thinking, oh no, I don't want to look like that. So maybe if I look like this, I won't look so old. You won't see the bags in my eyes. So when we're looking in the mirror, we have an idea of how we think we should look. So the false ego does the same. We see something and we think, oh no, that can't be right. So then we try to justify what it is, and because we believe something, we think, I believe it's right to be kind. So then we think, well, then I must be kind, but not necessarily. You may believe things, but you may not actually be a very kind person. You may be a very harsh person, very insensitive person. So then you realize, okay, I'm going to have to work on this. First thing is, I'm going to have to see myself for where I really am, and not become discouraged by that, and then just start to work. I can't become Rupa Goswami overnight, but I can stop doing very, very small steps towards coming to that. And if you can just make even the tiniest improvement, then at least it shows that you can do that. So the next day you again make another tiny improvement, and over a period of time you'll get there. So you have to be patient and continue on enthusiastically with confidence. And the patience is sometimes destroyed by your intolerance of yourself. So we talk about being more tolerant than the tree, and we're thinking about we have to be more tolerant with everybody else. But to begin with, we have to be more tolerant with ourselves. We have to realize, I'm going to have to tolerate this. I'm actually a bit of a jerk, and it's not brilliant what I'm doing here and the way I'm doing it. And you have to tolerate that and be patient and pray that in due course you'll become a pure devotee.
It's because it's, for me, just use my own example, like I get like pretty angry, like off the chain anger, just like rage, do something stupid, and then regret it later. But like, for me, that kind of seeing myself as less than what I would like to be ideally, like what you said, I know that I want to be a nice person. I don't want to be someone that people are scared of, or people that I want to avoid. But then when I fall short of the mark, when I actually kind of do the angry thing, maybe my mind or something about me just goes the opposite direction. So like, it's like
well, anger is an interesting thing. They say anger is the emotion that rises the fastest and dissipates the fastest of all the emotions. So anger is a secondary emotion, and the first emotion is perhaps fear or insecurity or something along those lines, and then the anger kicks in later on. And anger is a good thing because it lets it out. Whereas they say with these serial killers, quite often what happens with these guys is they're Mr. Nice Guy for years, and it's just building up and building up, and they don't get angry because they're Mr. Nice Guy, and I really hate the way that you do that, but it's not a problem because I'm Mr. Nice Guy, I'm Mr. Guy, and then one day, okay, forget it, I'm not Mr. Nice Guy, and then they just go off and they bump off a load of people.
Crazy. So it's kind of healthy in one sense.
Well, it kind of checks it. It's you've got it out. You're sorry about it. It's ugly. Everybody sees you for what you are, and then you can work on it. But if you don't address it and it doesn't get expressed, so then we have to maybe think, well, why am I angry? Because anger is generally not a very good strategy for achieving what you want.
Definitely not.
It's generally quite counterproductive. So you think, okay, I actually want these people to like me and love me and give me reassurance, and I'm getting angry with them, so I'm shooting myself in the foot here. Okay, so I need to fulfill these needs that I have for being wanted and loved in a different way, because this is a tragic expression of unmet needs.
Yeah. Deep, like. Yeah, it's tough, and I've seen friends and other devotees. It might not be anger. It could be some other thing where they fall short of their ideal vision, and it causes them to go a bit off the rails. Maybe they stop coming to morning program, or they stop reading, or they stop chanting. I wonder if you know why that happens and how to prevent it, how to stop yourself.
Yeah, if you're committed to chant your 16 rounds every day, come hell or high water, and you're committed to reading Srila Prabhupada books every day for at least half an hour if you can, and you won't know whether you are committed until you've been doing it for a long time, and then you'll find out whether you are or whether you're not, and then it's a question of whether do you want to become committed, or are you looking for an excuse not to be committed? You see, Krishna doesn't want anyone doing any type of devotional service in a begrudging way, and so he'll provide you with whatever excuses that you need to palm yourself off with something less than Krishna consciousness. He only wants you to do it if you want to do it. So you need to check in every day with that and think, okay, today wasn't such a good day, I didn't really want to do it that much, so I really need to chant, I really need to read, I need to come back now and kind of rejuvenate myself and then go back out again. And it needs to be a daily practice. It can't be that if you leave it too long and it starts to become a habit, it's very, very hard. So it takes 28 days to form a habit. So if you can read Prabhupada's books every day for 28 days for at least half an hour, then that'll become a habit. That could be it for the rest of your life. But if you go 28 days without reading Srila Prabhupada's books, then you may convince yourself that that's going to be it now for the rest of my life.
That's definitely a challenge for people who are listening. Try and read half an hour for 28 days and see how it made you feel.
Yeah.
Like, see what you got from it.
Well, if you find it a challenge, just look at what you're doing at 8 o'clock in the evening and just decide, is this really, really valuable? Is this really going to help me escape the wheel of birth and death? And if it's not, then don't do it. And be making plans to get to bed by 9. So empty the bin, take the dog for a walk, have a game of darts with your wife, whatever it is you need to do, but get it done by 9 and be in bed, and then get up at 3 or 4, and then you've got quality me time, which practically nobody's got. Rich people, Elon Musk, all the famous great people, rich people, how much me time do they have? It's the most valuable commodity. If you can be getting in bed early and get up at that time, then you're the richest man on the earth.
Yeah, amazing. Those early hours are just supercharged with. It's just like lovely.
You can build up your shields, your psychic shields, because you don't know what the day's going to throw at you. And if you've got some strong samskaras there in the mind, some things that really impressed you that day, really inspired you, then they'll help you to deflect whatever Maya throws at you throughout the day.
Yeah, it's really nice as well. If you start developing that habit of reading the books every day, it becomes like a conversation. It becomes a two-way street. Yeah. It's a relationship, ultimately.
It's a strategy as well. If Arjuna had said to Krishna, okay, let's get out there. We need to get into this battle and wipe these guys out. And Krishna's like, yeah, okay, where's your bow and arrow? And Arjuna's like, never mind bow and arrow, we haven't got time for that, just let's get out of the battlefield, And Krishna's like, okay then. And then he says, where's your shield, by the way? Oh, I haven't got time to polish the shield this morning. Look, just let's get out there and do this, I'll just throw the arrows at them. I know I haven't got a bow, but I haven't got time. I'll just throw them, it'll be fine, So obviously you're really going to compromise your performance on the battlefield if you've not prepared yourself beforehand. You've not got your weapons and your shields ready, so that when you go out that day for a battle, you're prepared for it.
Yeah. So yeah, chant, read,
Yeah.
prepare the night before.
Yeah.
It is like a military thing, isn't it? Like,
well, it's interesting because we say Shastra, and Astra is very, very similar. So Shastra is giving you the weapon to dispel the ignorance which could trip you up and deviate you from your Krishna consciousness. So the war is on, folks. There is actually a war going on, and it's against the material energy, and you're trying to get out. So wise up to that, and get your Shastra and your Astras together.
Very good. And don't go it alone.
No.
Find a soldier's armies to fight with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come down to Krishna whenever you get a chance.
Yeah, yeah.
Or if you want to go somewhere on holiday, you can come up to Karuna Bhavan and get some amazing association. And I got a confession, like I always listen to the classes on YouTube for Karuna Bhavan.
Oh, okay.
Like you just type ISKCON Scotland on YouTube and go on their live page. Every class is live streamed on there. And sometimes I listen to some classes and I just can't get into it. It's very like technical, but yourself or Prabhupada Prana, those classes are so accessible to someone. I guess it's like I'm from a more simple background, working class. Like it's the presentation of it is just so listenable. So if you guys are listening, want some more content to listen to, some more Krishna conscious, like you listen to the podcast, you want something else, get on that YouTube channel, definitely.
And if anyone wants to join the Japa Sangha on Thursdays between 7 and 8 o'clock, we've been doing that for maybe about nearly 4 years now. And people can just come on the Zoom, and then if they have any questions about their Japa, and we just keep it open really so that people can reflect on things or put their contributions in, and we just try and chant it, because the best way to chant better is to just sit down with someone and talk about chanting the holy name. The holy name is very pleased, and the next day the holy name will dance on your tongue.
Very good. How do people get onto the Japa Sangha?
I can give you the link.
Okay.
And then you can just share it with them. And then
sounds good.
Yeah.
I'll put it out on Instagram, something like that.
Yeah.
Or you can message the Instagram, or you can message me if you've got my number. And you can get you on that. So Japa Sangha means...
Yeah, it's like a chanting, really. Everybody contributes. And we'll say, like one which was really interesting was Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, even if you cannot chant with faith, at least chant with full attention. So we're thinking we've got a bit of faith and we're trying to chant with some attention. But Bhaktisiddhanta is saying, first of all, full attention, and then we can look at faith. So it's like, okay, have I ever thought of it that way before? That the very first thing is to show that you have like the lowest level of faith, then you're at least chanting with full attention, because if you're not, then that means you don't have practically any faith that this is going to work, so your very first start is just from there, full attention, and then we can look at how we can get into having faith and into the more deeper. So then I was just batting that around everybody. What do you think that means? How does that apply to you? And then it really churns it. Everyone starts contributing.
Really sounds powerful. And like back to the battle analogy. Okay, you take your bow, you do your japa, but do you know how to use the bow? So get around people that are maybe more experienced, that have because like you've been doing this for like over 40 years now.
Yeah.
So it's like this is a real like karate black belt, 10th dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because the longer you do Krishna consciousness, the more unworthy and unqualified you feel. So you don't feel like... I was just listening to Srila Prabhupada, and he was laughing. He was saying, they're giving me so much credit for this Krishna consciousness movement. He says, all I am doing, I'm just following what my spiritual master wanted to do, and it is Krishna. And he's given the example of how Krishna showed Arjuna that all the soldiers had already been killed. So he was trying to show that all the temples were already going to go up, and all the books were already going to go and get distributed. Krishna had already decided, and he was just saying to Srila Prabhupada, do you want to be the one that does it, or is it going to be somebody else? So Prabhupada was really clear not to take the credit for it. So in a similar way, we can be part of it. Lord Chaitanya has said this will spread every town and village. That is going to happen. Will you be part of the solution or part of the problem?
Nice, very nice. Well, I think, yeah, that's nice length. Thanks for agreeing to do this.
Yeah.
And tolerating me for being here. But no, thanks for everything. And everyone's got there's some actionable things to take away from this, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got your Japa Sangha, you've got a couple of book suggestions that I might look into as well.
Yeah, psychology is like such a huge thing these days. It's a big subject, and a lot of people seem to be more and more interested than ever. Mental health issues, everybody's got them to one degree or another. So I remember when I first started doing Sankirtan, and the guy turned around and he said, "What's the money for?" And I said, "It's to help people with stress." And he goes, "Forget it, I only help people that are starving to death." But now, if you say we're helping people with stress, everyone comes running over. "Oh, I know Uncle John just committed suicide. He just had a heart attack. He's got problems. He's got mental health. Blah, 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 blah. I need to read this. I need to find out." Everyone is really into it now,
Yeah, it's the new health crisis, and actually this week I think it's Mental Health Awareness Week or something like that. I've heard things about that, so it lines up. But yeah, thanks for coming on, and Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gauranga.
Madhashikshana Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinam